te mando, nena. Lo pido al cielo, le pido, nena. Los angelitos te mando, nena. Le pido al cielo, le pido. Te veo en mi sueño, abro los ojos, te quieren matar. Sigo corriendo, cerca de un fuego, me quedo quemada. Sé que eres tú, te fuiste temprano, pero sé que siempre te tengo a mi lado. No me quedo a nada, si pudiera yo volver para atrás. Es que el tiempo se me va y nada, me acuerdo la luz de tu mirada. Ay, mi bebé.
Hey everybody, welcome to Global Works Community Fund's Stories of Change virtual fundraiser and auction. I see we've got some people still trickling in. My name is Mark Bennett. Good to see everybody. I serve as the executive director here at Global Works Community Fund. Super proud to be here and super happy to see everybody coming through right now. It'll be a bit of a trickle as we go, and I am honored to present to you our first virtual fundraiser, our first virtual event. It's super exciting because we are able to bring in a lot of new faces that wouldn't have been able to come otherwise. Every other year we've done this sort of thing live and in person. Obviously we've had some changes this year. But that means that we got some people coming from all over the country. So thank you so much for being here. As an introduction, Global Works Community Fund is a youth leadership development incubator that is serving youth right now in Portland and Denver, Boulder, Colorado area. So that means that we provide accelerated opportunities for youth leadership. Our program is for students that wouldn't otherwise have access to these opportunities, and that's what makes it so powerful. And I am excited to share with you a bit about what we've done so far this year and what we've got planned for the future, because we're here looking to expand our network of donors, of supporters, of champions for our cause, with big goals coming down the line. Little intro. Our year was tough. It was a tough year for just about everything and everybody. It was challenging in that what we are really known for as a program is our travel component. So we partner with Global Works Travel, which is a for-profit B Corp out of Boulder, Colorado, that does service learning-based programs, summer programs for teenagers, for high school students. And so we partner with this organization to create an opportunity for our youth to step out of their comfort zone, to step out of what they know, and ultimately learn a ton about themselves. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible this year. And so with that stripped away, and with the foundation of a global pandemic, we had major challenges. And also with a summer and many months of really civil unrest and social uprise that created some very necessary and needed dialogue and action revolved around racial inequities and systemic inequities. We realized that our students were really at an intersection of all of that. I would argue that youth in particular have been hit the hardest by this pandemic, and the youth that we serve in particular too. We serve BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color, youth of color, diverse youth, LGBTQ identifying, and youth that are coming from lower income backgrounds. So these youth had so much stripped away from them, and we were able to take this and turn it into the year of the pivot, which is what we've really referred it to. So we had an incredible summer, an incredible year where we were able to create deep community connections and find opportunities for our youth to amplify their voices in ways that we've never been able to do in the past and that we want to continue to build on. And we also made a promise to our youth, our students of this cohort that didn't get to travel when they had so much else stripped away from them, be it school, dances, graduations, first years of college for our alumni. We made a promise to them that we would stick by their side and continue to create programming for them to ideally travel in the summer of 2021. And if it's not international travel, we want to build programming for local travel. And if that's not possible, we're going to continue to find ways to amplify our youth voices, because we realize how important that is, especially given the backdrop of the summer and the pandemic and so much civil unrest. It really laid bare the inequities that so many of our youth and our neighbors are facing. So we are here with a wonderful night to raise funds and raise awareness. We want to share with you the impacts of our program and of the experience that our youth get through through participation in our program. And we're looking for champions, we're looking for donors, and we're looking for people that are going to continue to support us. So coming in, we've got some wonderful stories for you. We've got current students, we've got alumni that can speak to how impactful this program is years down the line and their experience with us, which just is near and dear to me and my heart. So we've coming in off the bat, we've got $1,000 donation match, which means that if we are able to raise $1,000 throughout the course of this program, that will be matched. So every dollar that you are able to donate, I know you already put a little bit into for the tickets to get in the door. I know you may have seen the auction items, and if you haven't, go ahead and look down on the page on the link that we sent you. You can check out the auction items there. You can check out a donation button. Every dollar that you spend for these youth, for these impactful opportunities, will be matched tonight. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Faith, our MC for the night, and our development director.
Hello, everyone. We had to have someone mute their mic at the beginning, so I just did it so that we got used to that happening. But, you know, first, I just want to say thank you. I'm Faith, as Mark said, I'm our development director, but just already seeing your names, your comments, where you're joining us from in the chat, I know that Mark and I already feel like this is a great success. So thank you all for being here. Thank you already for supporting the work that we're doing. We're really excited about today. We're really excited about people that we have here to share stories and to tell you about everything we've been doing this year in what Mark said is the year of the pivot. And I think Mark told us most of the logistics, but keep commenting. We love seeing it. We love seeing how you're feeling. We love seeing your names. It's exciting to see everyone. Some people we've been dropping off some beers and some kombucha at your front porches. Some people we've seen you making funny names and bidding on the auction items. So thanks for all the energy you've been bringing to us this week. Yeah, and we're really excited about that. You know, I wanted to talk a little about stories. In addition to being the development director here, I'm a documentary filmmaker. Stories have changed my life. I think it's how we learn. I think it's how we share. I think it's how we get a little closer to seeing each other's humanity. And kind of we can't actually walk in other people's shoes, but I think we can get a little bit close. And so that's why we really wanted to focus on a story sharing event with some incredible story sharers from our community, and just be able to get a little closer to each other and learn what our community is and what we think motivates us and why it matters so much to do the work that we do. So thank you for being here. And yeah, I'll jump right into it. We're going to kick it off with our first story sharer, Noelle Russell. She is an adventurer. She is an incredible person, and I'm just so thankful that you're able to be here with us today. So without further ado, Noelle, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to read this off of a piece of paper. So that's what I'm looking down at. I'm probably also looking down because it's nice to have something else to look at than myself. But I'm Noelle. Noelle Russell. I'm an armchair writer, an enthusiastic digital marketer, an avid backpacker, and a big, big fan of small dogs. But first and foremost, I'm a first-generation Mexican American. I was raised in a family filled with pride for that identity. In fact, one of the few documentations of my pre-5-year-old self is a cassette tape recording of my dad asking me if I knew that God loves me. I answered yes. And when he followed with why, I said, because I'm a Mexican. I grew up in a forest outside of what I considered to be a moderately sized town, although I've since realized that it's a very, very, very small town, and still is, which was mostly monotone in expression of culture and identity. There were people who wore flannels to grocery stores and work and around the house. And then there were people who wore flannels only to grocery stores and work. My mom said that she moved there to give me a different experience than what she grew up with: fresh air, forested hillsides, and miles of safe streets void of sidewalks and sirens. I loved it, but I always stood out. At my first summer party, I remember asking a question to my friend's mom in Spanish. "I don't know what you're saying," she said. But I didn't know the words in English, so I tried to mime them with my hands and ask for the thing that I needed. She continued to shake her head in confusion. Mortified, I ran and locked myself in the bathroom for what seemed like an hour. You see, there wasn't a moment where the missing links weren't glaring to me. Though I was proud of where I came from, I was always begging for connections, for completion, always screaming for spaces that gave me meaning, longing to fill an affirmation of identity, a love for myself, my culture, my heritage, and my future. That was until my junior year of high school. A local nonprofit was hosting a service trip to Mexico, back to the exact region my family was rooted in, and they needed a translator, so they asked if I'd apply. So I did. I was a bit confused about what exactly they wanted. "We'll talk to you and you just say it over again, but in Spanish," they said. I reminded them that my Spanish wasn't as polished as what I'd been taught in high school. I said huevos instead of blanquillos when talking about breakfast, I told the trip organizer. My teacher's face turned red. He looked at me sideways, and then I proceeded to explain what huevos were, and how that, though somewhat correct, it really wasn't the appropriate term to use in AP Spanish class when talking about breakfast. His face turned red. A couple months later, we woke up before the sun and started our long trip down south to our destination across the border. I spoke with gas station attendants and grocery store clerks. I spoke with border control and policemen. I explained our flatbed trailer full of generators, the jerry cans of gasoline that we carried, the work we were doing, why it was important to the organization, why it mattered to me. I spoke boldly and confidently. I made up answers when I didn't know what to say, and no one shook their head in confusion. I felt strong and in place, like I fit in. When we got to the neighborhood where we were stationed for the week, we began to unload our supplies. My mom had made me promise that when we got to town, that I've since realized again was a very, very, very small town and still is, that I would head to the local mercado and dial a sequence of numbers written on a folded Post-it note stored in my back jeans pocket. "This is your tia's number," my mom said, slipping it into my pocket. "Which tia?" I asked, assuming that after a decade and a half, I might have finally met every single person I was related to. "Just one of them," she said, patting my bum in her usual way that read like Mexican Morse code saying, "You ask too many questions, mija, cállate." The phone rang and rang and rang and rang and rang. And just as I was about to give up, someone hurriedly answered in Spanish. "Can I speak to Kika? Kika Quintero?" I asked in Spanish. "Oh yeah, un momento." And then I waited again and again, and I waited and I waited. And just as I was about to give up again, I heard heavy breathing on the other line and a woman greeting me warmly between huffs. She told me she ran from her house a half a mile away to speak to me, that there was only one phone in town and she was waiting for my call. I was stunned. "One phone?" I asked, and she just laughed. She asked where I was located, and I told her the name of the neighborhood. "Okay, we're coming," she said excitedly. "But you don't know the address, and neither do I said. "Don't worry, we'll find you." I was stunned again. A couple hours later, I was standing outside of the doorway of the building we were working on when I heard a car horn and my name being screamed, Noelita, Noelita, Noelita. And I ran out to what seemed to be my 1,000th tia, her kids, and some other people that I was related to in some way, somehow. We hugged and chatted and hugged some more. So show me what you're working on, she asked. And as everyone piled out of their truck, I began to speak about the work that we were doing that coming week and why it was important to the organization and why it mattered to me. And as I spoke, my 1,000th tia, her eyes filled with tears. And as my cousins clambered around the generators on top of our flatbed trailer, she began to tell me about the work that we were doing that week and why it was important and why it mattered to her too. You could be anywhere this summer, she said, but you came here, the land that you belong to translate important words, to build important relationships, to cultivate a community, she said. And all at once, the pieces snapped into place for me. The pride for where I came from, who I was, the flannel and the flavor and everything in between. This trip connected the dots for me in ways I never expected. I got to see myself in service of the spaces that gave me meaning. I got to feel affirmation of my identity, to establish connections and completion. You see, I've always been proud to be a Mexican American. How? I still know to this day, if there is a God, they love me because of that. But there was never a time I felt more love for myself, my culture, my heritage, and my future than that summer spent in the Sonora Desert, speaking boldly and confidently, making up answers when I didn't know what to say while no one shook their head in confusion, deepening my connection to my community who rooted me, while nurturing relationships with the community who continued to cultivate my path to flourishing. Thank you.
Noelle, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Everyone, I added Noelle's Instagram handle there because I love just listening to her stories every day, reading them, feeling seen, feeling a part of them. So I'm so glad that we're able to hear how it matters to be connected in different ways to the places where our youth get to travel. It's so much more than it seems like on the surface. Our next story sharer is someone that, similar to what Mark was saying, this is a very different year for us, but it was such an impactful year in a way that we really didn't know it was going to be. And I think Diamili Tus is one of our fellows and is going to tell us a little bit about where her head has been at, what she's been thinking about this year, what it's meant for her to be in the middle of everything happening in our country. And it's one of the things that we kept talking about this summer is what our youth have to say matters. And whatever we can do to amplify those voices and get a sense of what the pulse of our country and our nation really is, that's really important. So I'm so grateful that you're here with us. And I'm gonna let you take it away. And thank you so much.
Hello, good evening. My name is Diamili Tus Bojorquez, and I am a student at Benson Polytechnic High School, and I'm a student with Global Works that helped with the mural. And today I will be sharing a small poem I wrote. In this day and era, we are being divided by the color of our skin. We have always been divided in a constant war against race. But now more than ever, we are speaking up from these unjust systems that they have put in place. When the color of your skin is seen as a weapon, we will never be seen as unarmed, as said in the book, My Grandmother's Hands. You can see across all social media as marginalized communities are being targeted for the color of our skin and our ethnicity. As some of the most recent police brutalities against people of color have been caught on tape and released, it has sparked an uproar from our communities that are enraged and disgusted by these hate crimes. This is nothing new to our communities that have to deal with this. We've been having to deal with these racist comments and people for as long as we can remember. As just last week, a man yelled at my mom, "Go back to your country," as if she hadn't helped build this country. But we've had enough, as we saw the life of George Floyd being slowly drained by a white officer, or Breonna Taylor, who was brutally murdered in her own home by officers that aren't being charged and are still free. Or as in the Latino community, when in 2001, Jose Santos Victor Mejia Pu, an indigenous Mayan man, was murdered by police officers in Portland, Oregon, for being 10 cents short of a bus fare and having a seizure due to underlying health issues. Or as Vanessa Guillen, who was fighting for our country and was sexually abused by higher ranked men and not believed and ended up getting killed. Or as thousands of young immigrant children have come out to say that they have been sexually abused by ICE officers. The evidence suggests that these incidents are not only because there's some bad officers out of bunch. No, this system has failed us over and over again. But we are ready to take back our country that was stolen and forced us to work for it. I believe that no one is illegal on stolen land and that African Americans are not a threat. We will no longer accept these cheap excuses for the cops that kill us as trophies and say a bag of Skittles look like a weapon. We need justice and we need it now. How will you help us finally stop racism?
Dia, so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your words. I think we can't be reminded enough of how important it is that we pay attention and ask that question of ourselves, what can we do? What can each of us do? So thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your story, for being with us all summer. We so appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, I want to shout out to some of these comments. Thank you so much, both Noel and Dia, for being here. And showing what's happening in our country and how our individual voices and who we are and our perspectives on that, how that all matters. As Mark and Dia Amelia were saying, we weren't able to travel this year, and at first we thought that meant we weren't going to be able to have a program. When you have fellows with the strength of Dia Amelia, for example, you're like, hold on, we have to be able to do something to make sure their voices are heard. And so one of the things that we did was a mural project. So I want to just share with you a little video so you can kind of learn what our summer looked like.
This experience is really amazing. Like, I've never done this before, but I love that I get to experience doing a mural, and it's really inspirational for me too. And yeah, I love it. It's like I'm learning new things and getting to know more people.
I've started the mural process. I'm trying to paint these fine lines.
From the words that it says on these paintings, people can like what if they look at it, they can feel some sort of way, get inspired by what it says too, and see what other people are feeling too in their situation, things they're going through.
It's important for this art to be downtown because a lot of what people see about protests and Black Lives Matter movement and things like that is negative because the media doesn't always portray the good. And I think that it's good that there is some type of positive downtown, like a visual positive that someone can see and just something they can connect with.
It's not what the media portrays it as. It is very peaceful and it's very calm. But one time when we were downtown, 2 blocks up ahead, they started tear gassing people, and that's the only thing the media showed. It didn't show the peaceful protest or the peaceful walk we were going on. It doesn't show the voices in our community speaking out and saying their stories. So many people are gonna walk by it and they're gonna take that time to look at it and actually take it in, and they're gonna make their own opinions about it. But yeah, helping us spread our voice and our message.
Through that with the art, I want to communicate that while inspiring, but also educating people and making people feel something. That's what I aim to do right now, is really elevate everyone's voice. So with these specific pieces, we wanted to take in different things that have been brought up, like talking about ICE, talking about migrant workers, talking about the injustice with all these different people and situations, and kind of showing how connected that they all are, and that they all come from the same root of like the corrupt system that's been set up for us, and that now we're finally trying to break and trying to just really like go out of our way to fight for what we believe in.
I honestly think that we do all need to be equal, and like no problem in society is bigger than another's.
Take a space!
So awesome, right? That was it was so cool to see our youth, and those are their words. I mean, I had a mic and I was like, what do you think? Why does this matter? And they're just like, this is why it matters. So it's so cool to see them being able to have their voices heard in public space. And as we said, we asked them, what are you thinking about right now? What matters to you? What do you want to talk about? And they came with all of those ideas, shared them with Salome, and Salome went through and created a design based on what they've said. And then we had a Zoom meeting with her where she went through and said, you said this thing about dismantling, ICE, so I made this bird. I took the original logo, but I made it look more Mayan, and it's unraveling because of this thing. So it really was their ideas moved into this design, and then we were able to go down and paint together. So it was really wonderful to have that. We also did a zine this summer with the Independent Publishing Resources Center. And one of the big things that we're doing and have been doing this year is really thinking about those community partnerships, and how do we continue to have ways in which our youth are rooted in the communities that where we live, work, and play, in addition to the communities that we get to visit. So speaking of the place that we get to visit, I'm excited to have our next story sharer, who is Anaya Tora, one of our alums. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll let you take it away. I had the pleasure of getting to interview Anaya earlier this year, and learned a lot about why this program matters through that interview. So thank you also for sharing those experiences.
Thank you, Faith. My name's Anaya. I went to Panama with the Community Fund in 2017. And that same summer, I had gone to Chile and Argentina with a separate organization. And I spent the whole summer speaking Spanish and truly coming into my own understanding of the world around me. The single most important thing that the Community Fund did for me was make maps bigger. And by this, I mean my world was no longer confined to the US, right? Places were not abstract anymore. They have streets that I've walked on, people that I love. I can tell you where Cunayala is, or how far Papuro is from La Ligua, or describe the view from my host family's porch. And these are really important things. And these are the things that let you understand the world for what it is. I have a firm belief in that as long as you are taking care of the land will take care of you. And my host abuelo in Panama taught me this, and we sat on the porch and talked about energy and how it is better spent in places that give energy back to you. That was something that I felt like I already knew, but maybe it was the fresh air, or that it was spoken to me in a different language that really made it hit me. And so in Valparaiso, Buenos Aires, Cunayala, San Juan, I had interacted with the land, and it had changed me. And I had met and conversated with people, and they had changed me. I swam in their water, ate their fruit, slept in the homes of the land's descendants, and because of it, I was changed. I was 16, and I decided that land raises different parts of ourselves. In each country, even town that I traveled to, the more I learned, I realized that I had learned something different about myself. And then it hit me that the more I traveled, the more I learned. And so the more complete and understanding of a being I became. My understanding was no longer abstract. It was genuine and increasingly curious. And this was a lot for me to process. I had just found out my key to life and had to return back home to the same people and places that I grew up with, and the same people and places that made me feel stagnant. And so I fell into this kind of questioning after my trip, and I wrote, how can you travel and not contribute to the washing away of a culture? How can you live and not experience the most meaningful aspects of our world? Or rather, how do you travel, experience the most meaningful aspects of our world, and just go home? I don't know the answer to any of these questions now at 19, but I will say we can live and be in the world, but not be of it. We can travel and appreciate and support and exchange energy and also acknowledge the part that we play in it. I remember a conversation that I had with Mark about community fund students, and we talked about how these kinds of experience, the ones that we were probably having in that moment, should be experienced by everyone, period. Everyone should get that opportunity. But it is a lack of intention that blurs the lines of travel for me and what the community fund put into focus. And I believe that it is underrepresented Black, Indigenous youth of color that are going to soak up these experiences the most. And it is the kids that apply for these opportunities in the first place and go through the mentorship process and journal and bring it home project that are going to go out into the world and travel with intention because they were set up with it. And I think that that is key, that there is the intention and desire to grow and understand and experience, starting with the application. And these are the kids, there are kids who can pay for the trip and will go on the trip because they can afford it. And there are kids like me who at 16 needed to get out and feel challenged by the world and people. And those are the kids that are going to learn the most from these experiences of traveling and visiting people and being changed. And these are the youth that need to experience it, because the more that they learn and see, the more we are going to see parts of them in the world that we're building today. And I believe that the more understanding we all become, the more human we all become. Thank you.
Woo! Say it again for the people in the back. Thank you, Anaya. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't have anything else to say. I feel like that was a mic drop. So we're so grateful for you continuing to be a part. Anaya's served on our board after being a fellow as well. So yeah, just thank you so much. Pulling Mark back in for a second give us a little update on where we're at before we keep rolling with the programming here.
All right, everybody. I'm on the fundraising side of things right now. So thank you so much for all. Well, first of all, this chat is going off and it's super inspiring to me. I'm loving this. Thank you to all of our storytellers too. I just goosebumping out here. We hit $1,000 so far already. It was, y'all did it. That was incredible. And we just found out from that $1,000 that we got another $500 matching donation. So if we can raise $500 more, then we will get that money matched as well. Again, everything that you put in right now will get matched up to $500. And don't sleep on those auction items. They're still going and they're still hot. So thank you so much for all your support and all your love so far. This is so cool.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that update. Our next story share we have here is Chris Franklin. There's so many things I can say about Chris Franklin, but I guess I'll just say I met all of my friends in Portland through you. Like, I don't actually think I would have had a community without Chris Franklin. So I'm so grateful to have you here, and I'm so thankful for what I know you're about to share with us. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Faith, so much for inviting me. Thank you, Global Works, for all you do and the impactful stories shared tonight and the thought-provoking stories shared. Faith, it's important that you said what you said. Is I introduced you to a lot of people in my community, and we've shared that community. A little backstory on me. I grew up in Orange County, California. in a place that didn't reflect me. I was typically the only person of color in many rooms. And with that comes a lot of insecurity and just not feeling prideful about who you are and in your place in the world because you're not represented. My travel story takes us down to a city called Barranca in Peru. And in this trip to Peru, I saw some of the most beautiful things in the world and traveled to some of the most exquisite places and connected with amazing people. But in this particular story, it's quite simple. And this simple story has changed my life. It all happened in the first week that I was in Peru. Barranca is a coastal city. They've got one of those white Jesuses, just like Brazil, posted up. And a friend of mine and I were reflecting while staring out into the ocean and started to connect with a sunset that was happening that just kind of lit the sky. Also, all the tones of Barranca were changing. There's amazing street art in Barranca that is quite beautiful, and everything, our whole landscape was changing with the sunset. These dark orange colors and bright yellows and pinks. You could just see it all over and almost feel it. And me and my friend, we feel like we're witnessing this beautiful exhibit all on our own. And as the sun sets and we take it all in complete silence, we start to hear a clap behind us. And the clap roars and roars, and I turn around and there is almost a sea of people who witnessed the sunset with us. And it's important to note that this was at the beginning of our trip because I start seeing these people around town and we make that connection through our eyes. Like, you were there, you saw this beautiful sunset together. And it started to raise the idea of communal joy, connecting while witnessing something beautiful together. And it was impactful because I was able to connect with all these strangers. It was a beautiful sea of brown skin that I was in. And even though I didn't necessarily speak the language and I grew up with a different story, we had this connection point together. And so fast tracking back to when I come home to Portland, I found inspiration to connect with others. I found a confidence in myself and who I was and who I am and who I can be as it relates to my community. And I am on a mission consistently to make those opportunities of communal joy. So that could be done through a sunset. It could be done through a late night talk show, which is something that I created, but it could be done in some of the most simplistic of moments. And then you could turn around and look at a stranger and say, you witnessed that too, and make that connection for the rest of your lives. So I hope to share my story and inspire you to look for those opportunities of communal joy, whether you're traveling or whether you're home. I think now more than ever, the importance of connecting with one another is so necessary going forward for not only ourselves, but our youth and our world. So that is my story about my sunset in Peru. Thank you very much.
I love that. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. Chris is someone that has shared so much joy about being outside. We've gotten to hike. We've gotten lost in Portland and the surrounding areas together. And I love that idea that it is so beautiful. Sometimes it's like, let's just give that a hand clap. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Absolutely.
Oh, I cut Chris off a little bit. Sorry, Chris. Wow, I'm overwhelmed with how wonderful this is and all these powerful stories and everyone jumping in the chat and telling us how you're feeling, these donations rolling in, these auction items, and everything is so wonderful. And I'm really excited to introduce our next person who is the founder of our organization, the president of our board, Polly. So I'll let you take it away, and I'm overjoyed to be here with you today. And Polly, I think you're muted. Yeah, there it is.
I'm back. Thank you so much, Faith. Yeah, I was just saying I'm so inspired by all these stories. And I have to say, I've been constantly inspired by our Globeworks Community Fund students, by our dedicated board members, and by our staff. And I'm beyond honored to be sharing this space with all of you tonight. Also, Mark and Faith, can we get a big round of applause and thanks to you all for the behind the scenes efforts putting this special event together. Especially in this year of the COVID pandemic, we face so many challenges, and I'm extremely proud of how our organization has come together to positively impact our greater communities. I mean, our students are truly amazing. I had the idea, the concept for Globeworks Community Fund in 2011, and it certainly wasn't something that I ever could have started on my own. In fact, we have some of our founding board members here with us this evening. So I want to send a big shout out to Mary Catherine Wood, to Emily Hink, and to Caitlin Rothy, who all have made huge contributions in designing our programs. And I certainly can't go without sending a huge shout out to our extended Globeworks family, who have been mentors to our Globeworks Community Fund staff and students throughout the years, who have supported Globeworks Community Fund and provided outreach to schools and youth organizations in their own local communities. So one of our amazing Globeworks teachers is with us tonight, Leah Neopold, and she's also donated the doTERRA auction item. So check out the auction if you haven't yet, and thank you so much, Leah. We also have some of our stellar Globeworks staff here with us, including Jenny Wetzig, Taylor Anderson Dorier, and please type into the comments if you're a Globeworks trip leader or alum or a teacher. I know Odessa Armstrong from Baltimore is here with us, and Ari Wildow, Jason Feldman, who else? Jake Stein Greenberg, and I think Jake Stein Greenberg's dad is here. Alia Kate and Katie Morrow, thank you all so much for all your support, and I'm so grateful for all you do. Let's go back to the stories. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Polly. We're so thankful for the vision that you had to pull this program together, and just to be continuing to have you as the president of our board, making it all happen. Thank you for being here. And history is so important too, right? And so I might not know all of the people that you shouted out, but I know that I'm walking, you know, on the path that they blaze. So I'm so thankful for that, and thank you. Awesome. Well, wow. I mean, this is, I feel like I'm tripping over my words because I'm just so excited. This has already been such a success. I'm so glad you all are here. It's so wonderful to see all the different ways that everyone is connected to the work that we're doing here. And yeah, I'm just so thankful. And this chat is also giving me life. So thank you. Our next story share is Rashad Frazier, and we're gonna jump right in with his story now.
So for about the past 4 years, I've come to realize that nature has become a natural space for therapy and healing. Obviously, we know all the studies and facts that nature obviously offers. But I think being a husband, a parent, a brother, son, a Black man, getting outside is my form of therapy. I think getting outside for me helps kind of demystify what traditional mental healing looks like. Obviously we know the more traditional approaches, which is, therapy and all that stuff. But I think getting outside for me really recharges my batteries, the endorphins, the healing, hell, I come back transformed, My wife always jokes that when I go out on a camping adventure every weekend, I come back a better person. It's almost like I can kind of reset, and that reset comes from disconnecting, so I can kind of reconnect, dumb down all the noise. But that's honestly what Camp Yoshi is all about. It's that, getting you outside, giving you some creature comforts, but also letting you get that same type of healing, rejuvenation, basically all the energy that an opportunity that many of us haven't really had since we were kids. From our first adventure, most of those guys were like, working professionals. They're married, they have kids, even the ladies. But I think this probably was the first time in a long time that they were able to kind of really turn off the noise and kind of reset and have 3 nights or 4 nights of just the best sleep they've ever had, or seeing the stars and the moon for the first time. Just really powerful things you take for granted until you actually are in it. And I think nowadays with COVID and Black Lives Matter and social justice, we're all looking for ways to access that thing, that special, intangible thing that nature really gives us all.
Thank you, Rashad. I first met Rashad, I was just like, we're gonna be friends. Just based on like me seeing what he was up to outside. And I think, both of those things, like what Rashad mentioned, it's like we're so steeped in what's happening in the world all the time. And to be ordered to keep doing that fight and to keep as plugged in as we are, we need to also make sure we're resting and restoring. And so Rashad's the founder of an organization called Camp Yoshi. He's an incredible chef, first off. Yoshi Jenkins is his catering company. And then he was like, what would happen if we took this and we went outside with it? What would happen if we took this and we went outside and we created spaces that are specifically for people of color in the outdoors? What does it mean to create that kind of space where you can have these conversations and have them outside? And I think, both Chris and Rashad are folks that are focused on getting people outside. And one of the things that we did this year was we were really thinking about, like it says right there, we're really thinking about how do we organize our programming when we get back. This is a Bring It Home fellowship. That's what we call the fellowship with our youth. How do we organize this in a way where they can continue to do the work they're doing? So our 3 thrusts for our programming are Unity Through Arts, which you saw with our mural, our Naturehood, which is exploring and getting connected to and learning about how to protect the nature in our neighborhood, and community health. And when our youth are traveling and engaging in different ways, they're doing wildlife conservation. They're shadowing in community health clinics. They are helping to fix up schools, redoing gardens that feed the students in those schools. So most of the work that we do can fit in those 3 different categories. And those are really the places where our hearts live as well. And so our different story sharers today are people that also their work and their passions are in those 3 kind of buckets as well. So we're really grateful for everyone to share that. And I think as we continue to grow with our local programming, our community partners, you'll keep seeing more really cool things happening in those areas. So I'm up next to share my story. And my story shows why when I first heard about Global Works Community Fund and what the work is that we do here, I was immediately like, man. Because similarly, when I was 14, I went to boarding school. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I literally Googled it online. And I was definitely in over my head. I definitely didn't really understand what I was navigating. One of the opportunities that came up from being in such a different environment was this opportunity to go abroad and do a summer of service learning. And so I found myself in Panama. It was the first time anyone in my family had traveled outside of the country. My parents were kind of like, what are you doing? Where are you? what are you up to? But you know, my story, one of the moments I remember the most was I was sitting in my host family's home. I was probably eating fried rice and slathering it in ketchup, which was a habit I had picked up there because my host mom did it. And I think my mom took like years to try to get me out of that habit. When I got back, I was like, this is how they do it in Panama. But I heard this trumpet playing outside, and I run outside. And it was my host cousin, and he had come to visit my little town that I was staying in, Parita, from an area of Colón, an area of Panama called Colón, which is where most of the Afro-Latinos live. And looking the way that I look and showing up, you know, I had really long curly hair at the time too. People are like, where are you from? Like, you must be from Colón, or you're from somewhere. Like, you're not from New York. They were just not like, and I was like, I'm American, I'm from New York. They're like, nah, I don't think so. You know, so I hear this song and I go running outside because I'm hearing Beanie Man and Lady Saw, one of my favorite songs at the time. So I just start singing at the top of my lungs. So he's playing a trumpet, I'm singing at the top of my lung. My host brother, Abdialine, comes around me outside. He's excited, he's clapping and cheering everything. We finished the song like that. And it was so special because my host cousin, he didn't know the words. He knew the music, but he didn't know the words and he didn't know what it meant. And I don't play the trumpet, but I knew the words. And across cultures, we found this thing that we had in common that was important to both of us. And we were both so excited. And, you know, it was this moment where I was like, we might be worlds apart, but we both know this song. Growing up as a Black multiracial woman, I was always being asked, what are you? What are you? It's like the most common question. And to have to go through life, like, you know, as a 12, 13, 14-year-old trying to explain what you are all the time when you don't know, I'm still trying to figure, you know, out that aspect of my identity. It was really hard. You know, I navigated a world in which the deficit statistics that I'm surrounded by tell me that the odds are stacked against me. You know, they tell me that people don't expect me to succeed. They tell me that I'm going to have to work twice as hard and those kinds of things. And so, you know, I've always been aware of that, and I've always been working within those constraints. I think being able to travel, it opened up my horizon line, not only in terms of what I felt like I was capable of, but I think really importantly, it made me see who my community was. And it made me realize, hold on, if my community is here too, then maybe those deficit statistics, maybe there are other statistics. Maybe the odds aren't stacked as high as I think they are. Maybe there's more people who have my back than I even knew. Maybe there's more people in my corner. And I think when I got back, I've always felt that way. I felt like I'm actually a global citizen. I have a global community. It's not these deficit statistics that define me, because my community is so much larger and there are so many people who are in my corner. And from the age of 15, that's when I realized that. And I think the way that I was shown love and the way that I was welcomed was a way that was really reserved for kinfolk, you know? And so for me, traveling, it just broadened the sense of who I was. And yeah, I feel like it's allowed me to do more than I previously thought was possible, because my sense of what's out there was just broadened by this experience, you know? And I was finding myself in a place interacting with folks who were as excited about me being there that I was about them being there, because neither of us knew that the other person was going to be so important to them. And that's what our students find when they travel. Anaya alluded to it. We don't just pluck you out of one place and throw you out into the world, right? We have a 3-month mentoring program. Our youth are having leadership development conversations. We're talking about why your perspective matters, who you are. And so by the time our youth show up, like Anaya said, they're traveling with intention. They're there for a reason. They know how important it's going to be, and they know that they can make a contribution too. So that's my story. It's why I'm here doing this work, because I believe in it. And I believe in it because it changed my life, and it's made me a part of who I am too. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to me on this. And we're gonna pull Mark in. He's gonna give us some more updates.
Cool. Thank you so much, Faith. Thank you so much to all of our storytellers so far. Again, this is unbelievable to me. a first virtual event, and I am loving what I'm seeing so far. We have, thankfully, a long line of donors. And I'm just going to start reading off some names because y'all have shown so much love right now. We've got Laura, Carl, Laura, Dev, Brett, Jake, Dana, Elizabeth, Ross. Thank you for your donations. These are all matched donations. Zoe, Claire, Alia, Kurt, we appreciate you so much. And Ben and Gabby, Jennifer, Ryan, Anne, Megan. We've got Adam and Stephanie, Caroline and Sarah and Emma, amongst others that have donated prior to the event. You guys are blowing it out of the water right now. And I want to encourage you to continue to feel that love. If you're feeling what you're like, if you're feeling good about what you're hearing right now from these stories, from our students, from our alumni, from our community of supporters and our friends of the program that you're hearing stories from, please consider continuing to contribute. This money goes directly to their experiences. This money goes directly to Dia's experience. It goes to Anaya's experience. And this is, and it doesn't stop at the end of the year. Anaya and I continue to talk. We write recommendations. We continue to this program is a jump off for the rest of our students' lives. So yes, it's a 3-month mentoring program. In an ideal year, they go abroad and they have an incredible experience. If not, they have an incredible local program. And then we continue to maintain contact with bi-weekly check-ins. So every other week, we're setting up Zoom calls and just creating space to connect, to be in community. And in a year like this, that's supremely important because, again, everything's been stripped from our students. And they're on Zoom calls all day long, but it's not a place where they can come and be their authentic selves. And that's super important. And the whole point of this program is, yes, to create those leadership skills and development skills, but it's really to help them jump off to who they want to be and where they want to go for the rest of their lives. And we're on that ride with them. We've got an alumni board that we continue to work with. We bring our alumni back to be mentors and to continue to mentor our current cohort of students. And so if you're liking what you're hearing right now with these stories, please continue to show that love. This is huge for us. This is huge for our students and for our program. So thank you so much. And I want to see those auctions are going off right now. So continue to please look at what you like. I think a little bidding war is pretty fun. I'm loving what I'm seeing with in the chat about some Steins. It's pretty good. So keep it going. Keep it going. I'm also going to shout out one that I haven't seen anything on. There's a $100 gift card to Hazel's Beverage World that is starting at $45. No one's bid on it. If you're in Boulder, Colorado, that's free money to the liquor cabinet. You can really up your game. Cool. Well, I'm gonna hand it back to Faith. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. That's when I was looking. I was like, were I in the Denver area? I would be on that one. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. I wanted to just give a big thank you to all of our board members as well. We're a tiny organization. There's 3 of us there's 4 of us, and shout outs to Asia and Emma, who our other 2 incredible staff members that keep it running and interact with, and really on they're talking to our youth all the time, checking in all the time, figuring out what we can help with, making sure families are good. We show up for our youth in ways that are far beyond, and I'll say this particularly about Mark, far beyond what you might think on paper, so we make sure our families are good. And in a time like this, in a year like this, that's been really important to make sure that that's a possibility for everyone. I also just want to thank our board members who are all here represented, Zoe, Chloe, Ethan, Polly, Jenna, and Luis. I mean, first of all, everyone has their own really special skills, and we're so grateful for them and how available they make themselves to hop on the phone with us and be like, oh, do it this way, or maybe this way. I mean, some of y'all might have had Luis like literally dropping off some beers to you today. We're just so grateful for the support we have from our board members. And on that note, Ethan Thrower, one of our board members, is going to come say a little bit to you. And we're always just so thankful for you, Ethan. I think when Mark and I were kind of down in the dumps earlier this summer, we were like, we need to do a backyard shenanigans with Ethan. And yeah, thank you.
No, appreciate it. For starts, I'm gonna start by I can't even explain the amount of gratitude I have for everybody who shared. I think that there's a certain power in testament and a certain power in being able to hear individual stories. First and foremost, I think it was beautifully said earlier, but I'm a Black man, I'm a husband, a father, I'm a school social worker, and I'm also a member of this board. And for me, I think it's just super critical and important for me to share the why for me that I would even be in a position to be speaking or making an ask of y'all. When I listen to those stories, I just can fantasize of what that would have looked like for me as a youth if I would have had one of these opportunities. And I think firsthand, I got the privilege of being able to have several students that go to the school I directly work with take trips. And so for me, it's less about just the trip. I think you have to hear that when I think of the African-American woman that got an opportunity to go do pre-med work internationally, that is just a trajectory shift. She is now graduating. She was a freshman and she's now graduating, getting prepared to go to college to be a nurse. That's just a trajectory shift. And it wasn't that she felt like someone had sympathy for her. It was an opportunity for her to give and for culture to give back to her. She was able to see people of color doing pre-med work that changed her trajectory. And that story is over and over for every one of the kids from my program that I've directly been impacted to be able to witness. I'm also a father, and I think that's a critical one. My ask of you right now is that we're not ending, but this auction, this event will have an end time. And so my ask of you right now is for us to slow down a little bit and listen to your heart, listen to your feelings, listen to the things that have moved you. In this, I waved my wife down. We're like looking for last minute holiday gifts. I'm like, perfect. My children get to know that they've contributed. My family, we're making a donation tonight as a gift for our kids. So just if you're looking for one last, holiday gift and that's your thing, make a contribution. You can't have a better gift given. I think another thing that I'm asking people as we're slowing down is have fun. I really appreciated Mark saying dive into that option. But if you were using the auction as a way to leverage yourself, giving an opportunity to somebody, you might even just say like, hey, I'm gonna take what I was offering towards the auction. Someone outbid me. I'm just gonna donate that. My ask would be that, people do that, if you haven't click on a donation one, go for that also. But I think the other thing that I wanna ask of people tonight is, for you to stop just thinking about this as potentially a place where we're seeking money. We're also seeking partnership. So if you're somebody who said like, wow, I know a network or an individual who could really contribute or play a role in creating a broader systemic approach towards this program, offer up that. A third share would be to forward this link as many times as you can to people. This auction and this event will end, but our willingness to accept people supporting this program won't. And I just will remind you, I wore this shirt, the GlobalWorks Community Fund shirt versus a button up tonight, because when my daughter heard that I was doing this, she put hers on. And for me, I think that there's a way in which we have a duty or we have a right, or we also have an opportunity to contribute to change. And I think if you didn't listen to anything I said just now, listen back to some of those stories, particularly some of the ones that the youth offered, and think about the impact that you can have, or a donation can have, or sharing your network with us can have. And I think I can speak easily on behalf of GlobalWorks that the gratitude won't change. Like we're just endlessly will be thankful for any and everything that people will share. So board member, I'm more than moved by myself by this, and I can only imagine that other people are as well. But I'm just asking that people take one more chance to really reflect and make a final contribution for tonight, but also dig into where this can move further.
Thank you so much, Ethan. We're so grateful always for your guidance, for your heart. I feel like it always makes me be like, yes, that's what I was trying to say. So thank you. Thanks for being here with us tonight. We're going to bring Mark back for some updates, some goodbyes, some final words, some next thoughts, some words of wisdom, all that. Mark,
all right, y'all. We've been on for about an hour and 6 minutes, and it has been wonderful. Again, this is the first time that we've jumped on the virtual platform, and I am loving this. I'm loving the chat. I'm loving the words from everybody that's been involved in Global Works Community Fund. To our board, we can't do this without you. They provide behind the scenes guidance. They're our working board. They have been putting in so much effort and time. And to our staff, Asia and Emma and Faith, thank you so much for all you've done. And to all of our students and our alumni, our current cohort, and all the tens of students we've seen through this program. I am honored. My heart fills with how much on a individual to individual basis we are able to truly make a change in somebody's life. Again, I think I mentioned it at the beginning. This is an opportunity that people can look back on as a pivotal point in their life. I had an opportunity like this when I was 16. I spent a summer in rural Costa Rica. That is what originally drove me to have to become what I am in this position today. It has really laid the path for who I am and what I'm interested in and where I want to be in my life. And I know that that is true for every student in every cohort that we have. So thank you so much for all of your donations. We have raised our funds that we were looking to raise. I want to echo what Ethan was saying. If you were planning to bid a certain amount, but you didn't quite make that auction item, I would encourage you to take that amount and contribute it. The positive of that is it becomes a tax deductible donation. So that's a good thing. Also, the auction is open till midnight Pacific Standard Time tonight. So we're at 7 o'clock right now. You got about 5 hours, just under 5 hours on that auction. So make sure you get those steins because they're going big right now. And thank you so much to everybody that contributed to the auction. We had a lot of our community pull together, a lot of big donations, a lot of personal donations, and thank you so much to everybody that donated to that. I want to thank Breakside. I want to thank Sanitas Brewing, and I want to thank Brew Dr. Kombucha as well for sponsoring this event. It wouldn't have happened the same way without you, and I'm so happy to have all of you here. I hope y'all have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much. I'll pass it to Faith now.
Just wanted to echo the thank you. Thank you also for everyone that has been here for a long time, because we all know Mark's big heart. We all know Mark's been carrying that flag. And I think that enthusiasm has allowed so many of us to jump in and want to be a part of that vision and want to be a part of this work. So thank you. Thank you all for being here. We wanted to do a little virtual cheers as we thank our sponsors. Thank you all for being here and for continuing to support us. We feel the support and we know we're going to do wonderful things. So thanks, everyone. Cheers. Cheers.
This experience is really amazing.
Caminando por la Los angelitos te mando, te mando. Lo pido al cielo, le pido, le pido. Los angelitos te mando, te mando. Le pido al cielo, le pido, le pido. Te veo en mi sueño, abro los ojos, te quieren matar. Sigo corriendo, cerca de un fuego, me quedo quemada. Sé que eres tú, te fuiste temprano, pero sé que siempre te tengo a mi lado.